me, Renee. I'm back. And yeah, I didn't do a video on Wednesday because life. But yeah, I'm here now. And today I'm going to do a booktube classic, which is reacting to one-star reviews of my all-time favorite books. Now, this is a bit difficult because I have so many favorite books. I decided to focus on books that I have read many times or read recently because I first thought of like just doing random books for my favorite books in general. But then I thought, well, if I haven't read this book in a while and if I can't remember much about it, I just remember I love it. Can I react to the review in a good way? I don't know. So yeah. Also, I feel like maybe some of these like reacting to reviews, maybe you should like have a short review to react to because like if you I mean, some of these people have written like long one-star reviews. I suppose I can't read all of that, but will read some of it and react to it. Also, something that I noticed because yeah, I found some books to do this with. Something that I noticed is that quite a lot of the books that I chose don't have that many one-star reviews. Like, well, first yeah, two or three of them just have like one-star review on Goodreads. The last one had more, but still, like the bigger amount is like 3 star, 2 star, 4 star. So yeah, that's quite a nice thing to see, really. I suppose could also just mean it doesn't have to mean that people agree with me, that people feel like these are 5 star books. It could also mean that these books aren't the most well known, so in that way, less people review it. I suppose in a way, this maybe would work better if I did like with classic or with Harry Potter or whatnot, something like that. But yeah, I have some books to talk about here. I am going to start with a little moment. Yep, I'm going to start with a cheating book, not cheating book, but yeah. This is a book that I own, but a friend of mine is still borrowing it, even a year later. So I don't have it to show you because most of the books I'm gonna show you in the beginning. Yeah, this first review is for Soulless by Gail Carriger, which is her debut book and also the first in her series. And yeah, I suppose if it's a debut book, I suppose it could be a debut book and then the debut book being standalone. It's not. It's one of my all-time favorite series and books. And yeah, let's see what John from Goodreads has to say about it. I'm not gonna read all of it, but I'm gonna read some of it. I am deeply dissatisfied with this book. Dissatisfied. I mean, it's fun that you use that word. It's a nice word to use, but okay. It was an shambles, and I intend to explain why. I mean, good that you explain why you feel like that. I had this book on my TBR list for so long, so I finally got to purchasing it. Yeah. Uh, the combination of genres was migraine inducing. Was it? Was it? Okay. We had Victoriana, steampunk, paranormal, and some cringy romance. Was the romance cringy? I don't really feel like it was. I suppose, again, like when you react to reviews, it's like, I mean, people have different opinions, so you can't really say, like, you're wrong. I suppose you could react to them. Yeah. Just me, like, I don't want to scream at people because, I mean, people have different opinions, but it's still interesting to see. We have some rather ghastly humor, which wasn't at any point actually funny. Okay, I disagree in all points here. I feel like the romance was on spot, the humor was great. I kind of felt like it was steampunk. I didn't really think like that big of a mix. Well, why would she use paranormal? To me, paranormal is kind of modern day vampires and werewolves. It's not in the past, and Soulless is in the past. It's in an alternate universe, but it's in the past. I suppose, I mean, I've read some steampunk. I have a whole shelf of steampunk books. And I feel like Gail Carriger writes good steampunk. Maybe it's because the first book that I read was steampunk was Gail Carriger. So maybe if I've read all other books first, I don't know. But I feel like it is steampunk. And this is, yeah, interesting. I was wanting more of a steampunk feel. I was attempting, now reading, yeah. But I was attempting to do more on the paranormal romance side. Again, shouldn't paranormal be modern? Maybe not. How do you define paranormal? Because, I don't know. Because steampunk, I mean, to me, steampunk is kind of set in the past, but like with it's alternative history, but with magic. And that is what Soulless is. It was pretty damn obvious that very early on who was going to get in on with who. Well, yeah, it's a romance book. Quite often you kind of see who's going to be there and couple, really. I mean, yeah, sometimes you have love triangles, but even then it's kind of clear. So it's like, why would you think that would be difficult to understand who the main character would end up with? That's I feel like it's kind of like saying that you're surprised that a romance book ends happily ever after, because that's kind of the rules for the genre. Okay. It was way too predictable. Again, I don't really feel like the book was predictable. Maybe I'm just stupid. I didn't really feel like it was predictable. I'm just gonna jump across this. This is written a long review. Soulless seems to have gathered all my pet peeves and then mixed them up together in a 291-page book. Yeah, she just said how long the book was. Yeah. Okay, well, I suppose I don't really have that much more to say there, then I disagree. I suppose, I mean, sometimes one-star reviews people have like a very fun way of putting stuff, and like someone did a one post review of like saying Pride and Prejudice is just people going to each other's houses and talking, which is kind of true. And it's kind of a fun way to put it, but it is true. I mean, a bit more than that happens, but it's not like anyone dies. But yeah, um, yeah. With her review and Solar, she has a lot to say. I'm not gonna go into all of it, but yeah, simply I disagree. I feel like it's a very good written book, and I mean, also, I suppose you could also, I would say, for me, I could, even if the book wasn't perfect written, it's like, this is the author's debut book. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. Debut books really is, and in my mind, actually, Soulless is a perfect book. But yeah, yeah, I'm just going to be moving on from that one. Yeah, also, like after reading Soulless and like the whole Personal Protector series and all of the whole, like all of uh, Gail Carriger's books. I've also read other steampunk books by other authors. The Invisible Library. I've read Colin Stoker's books, and I feel like I don't really feel like Gail Carriger writes badly. So I feel like this reviewer is in the wrong. Not like you're in the right or in the wrong, but yeah. Then up next we have the book Life of Nina Hill, which is a recent favorite. I read it in May, so yeah, quite recently. It came out in 2019, but yeah, it's been like on everyone's minds for a long time. I have not read it before now. So yeah, this is Christina who says 1-star review, and then brief note. I hate everything about Abbi Waxman's The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. Everything. I mean, I suppose that's kind of why you give 1-star reviews, but like for me, I could hate a lot of it, but not like everything. But yeah, I think everything right. Interesting. The shallow characters, are they shallow? The inane, trite dialogue that's mostly composed of trading quips about pop culture. I like when you talk about pop culture. I suppose, I mean, I also like Gilmore Girls, and this, I suppose this in a way gave me a bit of Gilmore Girls vibe, because yeah, it's set in Los Angeles, but it's also like set in a community in Los Angeles, in a small area in Los Angeles, and yeah, and all the pop culture references. I loved it. The poorly constructed plot, was it? A ridiculous, unconvincing romance, was it? The silly errors that make me believe the author read her manuscript only once and her editor read it never. Okay, again, I don't agree here really. Uh, Mostly I hate Waxman's written a book that tries to pass off being an avid book reader as a personality trait, and not even a positive one. Apparently book lovers are always loners, friendless, and socially awkward, too smart for their own good and anxious for wrecks. I feel like that's also kind of a bit harsh. And like also she's not a loner because like I suppose yeah, at least for me for me the biggest gripe I had with this book honestly was the summary at the back because it gave me a different idea of the book than what it actually was. Because from the idea at the back it kind of felt like okay, so Nina Hill doesn't really have any friends or doesn't really have a community. And from the get-go she does. She gets to know more people for the story through the book, but in the beginning of the book she has friends. So I feel like honestly I feel like that's kind of the thing I don't really like about this book, the summary and the book itself, like how it's so differing. But Nina Hill is definitely like she's I wouldn't call her shallow really. I wouldn't call her that. I mean she's an introvert, yeah, but she doesn't really she's not a bad introvert. And the characters being shallow, I wouldn't say they are. I mean, one or two of the characters, but most of them I would say they aren't. So I don't really know what book you read, Christina. I don't agree with you. I'm gonna go a bit more into it. Blah 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 blah. And hope that the book would be a fun, light, amusing read, which I would say it is. Maybe you're expecting more from light than I define as light. I don't know. A break from a much more serious non-fiction reading. It is not. It's awful. I've been compelling to take pages of notes and stick post-its to several pages of this book. There will be no sponsored alerts in this book in this review. Okay. On page 39, I had a post-it note predicting exactly how the bookstore would be saved, and no surprise, I was right. Yeah, I suppose in a way it's not a book that's very unpredictable, but at least to me, I don't really need all books to be unpredictable. Like this is contemporary read. At least for me, I feel like contemporary reads could be predictable. They're still fun. Often they're still fun. Like if you enjoy the characters and the world, to me it doesn't really matter. You can predict stuff really. To me, I feel like unpredictable should be a mystery book or a fantasy book. But contemporary, I'm like, yeah, I don't mind it being unpredictable. I feel like that's fine, really. Apparently, this reader wants everything to be unpredictable. As a person, Nina is a fail. Granted, all the characters in the book are failures. Are they again? What? Like again, I would say if you talked about the Nina from the summary at the back, yeah, she would be a fail. But like the summary at the back, I feel like is written by someone who didn't read the book. But the book itself, Nina is a great character. I mean, could she be a better character? Yeah, but do you want perfect characters? No, you don't really. So yeah, I'm just disagreeing on this person at all sides. Well, of course, I know love the book, but whatever. Despite having lived her entire life in LA, her only friends are her bookstore co-workers and trivia teammates. What about high school and college friends? I mean, it's been established that, at least I feel like it's established to me that when she was growing up, she was having a bit of, like a worse time than she is at the moment. Like in high school, she didn't have friends, and also like the review says like you can't like book and have friends. I suppose it depends on where you go to work, go to school and stuff. But I believe quite often, like I was bullied in high school for liking to read. And like in primary school, I know a lot of my friends like to read. But a lot of them grew out of it. And I did not. And I was bullied in high school for liking to read. I was bullied some parts in college to liking to read. So, and also I feel like, yeah, depending on what you choose, and also even if you go to college for people who like to read, even if you have other people who like to read in your high school, just because you like to read does not mean you'll get along. Just because you're perfect friends on paper does not mean you'll get along. So yeah, Nina Hill not having friends from high school and college, I didn't find that weird really. And also, like, I could also understand, like, if written that she had college friends and then she lost contact with them, because that does happen. I have some friends that I had in college I don't really have contact with anymore. And I suppose, yeah, I have moved around. Nina Hill did not move from where she went to college, but like some people go to college someplace and then move, or they might go to college and immediately get a job, and then also like LA is a big city, like still having contact with people from like LA's. I understand that you don't have contact with all people from your the past in your life. I do understand that. Yeah, I do agree here though. Waxman stereotypes pretty much everyone in this book. Everyone? Well, maybe not everyone. Some people at least I would say. But at least example here, Peter, Nina's nephew, which is just weird because Peter's uh he's older than her because of Nina's dad being old. Then yeah, then he kind of, and also like his siblings having kids in different stages of life, that there's a bit of an age difference. Like Nina Hill, as in she's like similar to age to her cousins than some of her uncles. So no, sorry, than some of her nephews. So it's a bit fun, but yeah. Anyway, Peter, Nina's nephew, introduces himself to her by announcing that he's gay and fabulous, and proceeds to be exactly that. Yeah, I would say Peter was a bit of a gay stereotype. He was a bit like gay best friend, or like gay character. He was outrageous and fabulous and gay, and it's a fun character, but it kind of felt a bit like one-sided. I mean, you can be gay and not have that being your whole personality. So I kind of agree with that here, but that was kind of one of the only thing I didn't like about the book. Um, Yeah, I also agree. Like, I don't remember where I saw it, but like she mentioned that it was kind of weird that Nina. Okay, so that if you don't know about the book, Nina Hill, in the beginning of the book, she discovers that her dad is dead. Like because she never really had any contact with her dad, she didn't really know who he was. And then in the beginning of the book, she turns out, oh, he's dead. And then she pretty much knows that he probably will be in his will, or like she has suspicions, or should have suspicions. And like in the few weeks that this book takes place, she gets to meet her dad's side of the family that she never met before. So it's kind of like getting to know lots of family members, and like suddenly going from having just a mom to having lots of family. So it's like that's kind of the plot of this book. Though it's not like a big plot. It's not a big, yeah, complex book. That's kind of the idea of the book is. And yeah, I do also kind of think like Nina Hill, she didn't really think that she would have getting lots of things from her dad in his will. It's like, why wouldn't you think about this? Like she focuses more on the family members than the fact that her dad was rich. And like, wouldn't you also kind of be curious if you get something in a will? I mean, probably sure you probably would get something in a will. It's a bit weird that. And also the whole mystery of her dad, like why it's never been in her life. It's not like it's there sometimes, but it's not like a big thing. So and else that's because Nina doesn't really think like it's like, okay, my dad no was never there for me. He was a bad dad. She didn't really feel like she didn't think about it really, and it's a bit weird. I suppose people are different. I suppose it's kind of like he was never there, and then the first she hears about him is when he's dead. So that's something else. Like, I suppose if she had known him in his life in her childhood, and then after a while he would have left her, that would be something else. But like, because then you have like something that you lose. But if you never known it, then you don't really lose it. But still, it's a bit weird thing. But to me, that's kind of the only thing I don't like about this book. And also the Harry Potter references, it's a bit weird. Though this one came out before like the big J.K. Rowling flashback, J.K. Rowling setback. Yeah, the big J.K. Rowling animosity. So yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna move on from that one. And then the book fell on the ground. Don't know what happened there. But then let's move on from that. It was a long overview. I can't go into all of it. Then we have Shadowland or Love Me to Death by Meg Cabot. This is the first in the miniature series. It came out in the 2000s, before actually the Twilight books. Like the last book in the series is an American called Twilight, but it came out before Twilight's the other one. And that's the last book in the series. Well, Twilight is the first book. And yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite series. It's been a while since I reread it, but yeah, honestly I read it so many times now that I feel like I can almost talk about this book. I almost know this book by heart. So yeah, interesting to see like what people on Goodreads think about it. Let me see. Where was I now? This is the same plot used for every other story about people who channel ghosts. Okay, so let me first say. This is a book from Simon. She moves to Carmel, that's in North Carolina. No, wait a moment. Yeah, it's North California. And so she used to live in New York. She has to move there because her mom has gotten a new husband. Yeah, so she's moving. But in addition to like being a fish out of water, like being in a different place than you usually are, Susanna can also talk to ghosts. So she, instead of like doing the thing where she just talks to ghosts, which sometimes happen, she talks to ghosts and helps them pass over. I suppose kind of like Ghost Whisperer-ish. And though in Ghost Whisperers, the main character was a bit like more meek, Susanna is quite sassy. And I suppose, well, Sus is kind of sassy. And I feel like that's kind of what you need to know. This is the same plot used for every other story about people channel ghosts. Well, firstly, Sus doesn't channel ghosts, she talks to them. It's two different things. Except less passionate with more emphasis on being shallow. Again, I don't really feel like Sus is shallow. She doesn't think about other people all the time, but who does? People to think about them sometimes. You can think about yourself, not be shallow. And also, about every other book about people trying to ghost, I don't really feel like. Well, so it says everyone's story, but again, I don't really feel like what I very much love about this book. I feel like it's quite unique. I mean, if you walk around a bookstore, you find so many vampire books. You find not a lot, but you find also quite a lot of werewolf books. But books with ghosts, they're not really that common. You might have books with ghosts in the horror section, but you don't find them in the fantasy section. It's not really that well would use a trope. Again, maybe I haven't seen these books. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. But in my experience, and I've been reading for like my whole life, so 30 plus years. And in my experience, that's not a very well used trope. So I'm like, I disagree with you here. The world building. Well, there's a beach and it's peaceful and there's religion and stuff. I guess since this is a real world, we don't need much. But what we were given was just sort of there. Well, yeah, again, it's an open fantasy. It does not take place it's not a portal fantasy. It takes place in the United States. Like, Some part of it takes place in New York. No, yeah, most of it takes place in California, Northern California. Why would you need that much of world building there? Like, I don't understand that. I understand world building in like books where you have a different society that's like uh, our own world set in the same world as like the Mortal Instruments is a whole world, but it's still like New York and whatnot. To understand there you need some world building. But when it's just set in ordinary places and it's not like hugely fun, like I would say in a way, like you could actually easily read it actually if you don't really like fantasy, because I would say half of it is kind of teen drama and teen life, and half of it is fantasy. Maybe like even 40%. So yeah, you wouldn't really need that much world building. I feel like the world building in this one is good. And also again, it's the first in a series. If it's a first in a series, not standalone, then you shouldn't give all the world building in the first book because you're building up. In the second book, you'll get more. Third book, you'll get more. I mean, if you do all the world building in the first book, well, then you would just kind of info dump, and that's not cool. So I don't understand that this gripe really. I don't understand it. Our main character is Susanna Simon. Why does it say Susanna Simon? I mean, it is her name, Susanna Simon, but like she mostly just uses Sus or Susie. So like it feels weird that she says her whole name in the review. Okay. The curious outcast who, having appeared as a new girl in school, is suddenly loved by everyone. Well, you can kind of get this, because she moves from New York City to North Carolina, to a small town in North Carolina. And like, I feel like everyone always feels like New York City is such a cool place. Like, just from being from there, people will be interested. Also, second point, this school has like people who go to school have gone to school for many years, so it's like rarely have new people. So also, it's always fun to have new people. So that would get you into attention. And also, she's not really a character that's kind of shy or introverted or like she's not a weird character. She is a cool character. So I do get why she got friends. And also the fact that, well, yeah, because of reasons, her life in Carmel is not going to be the same as it was in New York. So yeah, and also moving someplace different than where you lived before. Like often, like people don't have preconceived notions of you. I understand that. I understand what happened here really. Uh, she threatens her classmates. Is rude to her teachers. Well, to some teachers, yeah, but like when you're teen, you are rude to your teachers. That's kind of dealio. That's what happens when you're a teen. And she's not rude, she's just slightly rude. It switches between feeling sympathetic with the dead girl and not giving a damn about her worries. Yeah, because the dead girl is a bitch. I understand. Not like just because you're dead, you shouldn't be allowed. Shouldn't feel like people have to be nice to you all the time. I mean, a person's a person, no matter if they're dead or not. Yeah, I understand. Other characters can be split safely into two groups: evil girls who tan and care about fashion, and friendly people who do not but still judge for poor clothing coordination. Well, I suppose yeah, that's a thing. But then again, is this a thing that makes it a one-star review? I feel like that's kind of something that happens in teen in high school. You are judged by your parents, or like people are evil often also like fashion. So that also makes me a bit mean, but like that's my experience as well. I don't know here. Maybe I'm just judging you, but yeah. In short, this is an uninspiring book with shallow characters and shallow effort. What? I don't really feel like it's that at all. I don't know what book you read, but you did not read the same book I read. I don't really feel like you did. Yeah. You know what? Am I gonna take a break? Am I gonna stop it there? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stop it there. I did 3 books. I had planned to do one more, but I think I might do that for another video. And yeah, if you read any of these books, tell me what you thought about them. And I hope you have a nice weekend. And I'll see you soon. Bye.